Hello, this is Caleb Arend with another blog post for Austin Coding Academy. My name is Caleb Arend, and for the Austin Coding Academy, I'm currently in JavaScript 4.11, and this is the day 6 or class 6 blog post. Today I'm gonna be going over 3 different questions, and I'm going to share my screen so we can look at those together. And those questions are: discuss in words something you learned in class today or this week. What is render in React and explain its purpose? And is set state async? So those are the 3 questions I'm going to go over today. And the first one is something you learned in class today or this week. So one thing I learned is something about the lifecycle methods for React. And there are 3 different phases. Oh, well, there's actually 4 different phases, one that's not even on this list here, but there's a mounting phase, an updating phase, and an unmounting phase. Inside that mounting phase, you have the constructor method. There's the render method that goes through mounting and updating phases. There's the updating the DOM and the virtual DOM. There's the component did mount lifecycle method and the component did update lifecycle method for the mounting and updating type phases. And then for unmounting, the component will unmount lifecycle method. Then for the 4th kind of phase that an app goes through, there's an error phase as well for having 2 different lifecycle methods of component did catch or get derived state from error if you experience some errors with the app that you're running in React. Something else that I learned this week is how to try to learn how to try to add state to a class-based component that's not the parent component for like an app.js file, but a child component. And this is something that we didn't really go over in class or didn't quite learn in class, but it uses a lot of the same structure of the main parent like app.js component. But if I'm creating like a app.js, but then I have a child like clock component like this, and it is also a child class component, it'll still use the class let's see, the class syntax here with the name of it, and extends the either react.component or just component if that's destructured from import statement in React. Then it uses the constructor and passes props in there. It still uses super and passes props in there. It still uses this.state, and then it sets things equal to that state. And then when it wants to call that state, it still uses this.state. But then lifting up that state or being able to use something like props that have been passed into it, it has to either use this.props then, if some properties have been passed from the parent component, and it uses this.props, or it can destructure that as const, and then if it would put curly braces around scale and then equals this.props, then that would also work. That's one thing I learned this week is about those lifecycle methods and about that passing props to a class-based component. What is render in React and explain its purpose? And so going back to this diagram, there's the render method inside React, and it has a note on here of the render phase, and it says is pure and has no side effects, may be paused, aborted, or restarted by React. But the render method itself runs when the app mounts, and it continues to run when it updates, is the method that actual React elements get passed into. If we go back over here to this example here, you see it calls the render method, it passes some curly braces, it passes a return statement in there with more parentheses, and then it has the parent React element, and then it has the H1 and the H2 child React elements that are in there as well. And so that render statement is what is actually going to put things onto the screen and render them for an appearance for the viewer to be able to see. Now, so that's what the render method does, and that's what its purpose is. It's to give people those things that the code writer wants the people to see, the users to see. What is for set state then? Is that async? And the answer is yes, it actually is. So if you go to react.js.org or reactjs.org/docs/FAQ and look at component state here on the side under FAQ. There's one question about why is set state giving me the wrong value, but underneath that, it says that calls to set state are asynchronous. So yes, it is async. It is an async function. That set state method, when it is called, it's updating a specific portion of state. And it's saying here that if an object is passed into that, then it's going to update that state, but the rest of the app may not re-render immediately, even if that state is updated. And so I've experienced some complications for this with some of my projects where I have like a like button and I want that state to be changed when it gets clicked. And it changes, and using the React Dev tools, we can see that yes, this thing is changing, the state is changing, but something may not be rendering automatically right away. And like if I open up one of these, let's see, I think it was not this one, but the My Music app here. And if we pull up the terminal that I had before, I had been in, so cd into week 3, and then run the cd into My Music app and start that. I'll be able to show you 3 different button cards or 3 different content cards that are on this screen that when I try to change the state that they're using for rendering a conditional rendering ternary operator that returns a couple different React elements in there, and I try to use that, if I bring this up here, yep, the state changes there, but then if I bring it back down, maybe there's not a change here. Or if I turn this to low, as soon as this state has changed, which if we inspect and we go over to the components, React Dev Tools, and we go down to, I think this was under one of these cards here. Oh, where did that go? Router, dashboard. Here we go. The state has changed. Listening to loud music. Well, there's that. That's for that one. It's the online card. I'm looking for the sound quality card. There's the volume card. And here's the sound quality card. And let's see. Its state has changed. And there's a function that's looking for that, but it's not until I change it again that this music quality is degraded, increased quality if your connection allows it. And so I'm still running into this problem, still trying to work through this problem of now the state has changed. Why isn't this thing updating? And it's saying on here that pass an updater function instead of an object if you need to compute values based on the current state. So it says see below for details. An example of code that will not behave as expected, and that's probably what I'm kind of seeing in mine. But I'm going to look into here for some of the details of how do I fix that. And that's my blog post for this week. I hope everybody is having a good week. God bless you. Let me know if you have any questions in the video below. I don't know how many people actually watch these, but good luck with your code endeavors. All right, goodbye.